So first, we're going to go over variables and expressions. So let me just go over here. So I have, first of all, let me just show you from the beginning here. Let's delete this. Let me close this 1 second. So when you go to VS Code, okay, you open this, you'll be shown this or something similar, right? So what you do is you go to File, and then you can. I recommend first creating a folder on your documents or your desktop, and just call it like Python Workshop. So I created my folder called Workshop, and I put it in my documents. Okay. So create that folder just regularly on your computer, and then go to File, and then Open Folder, and then I'll see Workshop here. Select folder, and now it should show this, and it should show like an empty folder here. Once you see this empty folder called work or whatever you call it, but I call it Workshop, you can go up to this symbol. Let me know if it's hard to see. Let me actually zoom in for a second. Okay, so you see this? This plus sign with the paper, that's what you want to click. And what it does is it creates like this new file basically. And what you want to do is you want to name it something. So I'm going to call it Workshop. And then you have to say .py, so for Python, .py. And see, when you do that, it should change to this Python logo. Okay, let me just zoom out a bit. Right. So also, I said this in the PDF, but you go to extensions here, this symbol, and make sure this Python extension to have it installed, because it'll make your life much easier. And you can just search Python here. Not sure if it'll show up for me, but it won't. So on your, if you didn't install it, on yours it'll show install like these ones on here, but I did already install it, so it doesn't show that for me. But yeah, so if it says still install on yours, make sure to click that install button to get the symbol. Sorry, Andrew, which symbol?
It was this, no, sorry, I didn't mean symbol. It was before you said, sorry, I wasn't listening. It was after the part about setting up the folder. There was then like a 1 in your workshop, or maybe it wasn't important.
Yeah, so just make sure to put a .py after calling it, after making a new file, in order to create the Python file.
Okay, that was it, to get the, yes, thank you.
Yes.
That's what I missed.
All right. To create the file, you can just click this plus button, the first plus button from on the top. If you see my thing. Yep. So yeah. Now we can start. Tell me if this is this too small? Should I zoom in? I'll zoom in a bit. Let me know if this is okay right now.
Yeah, it's okay.
So a bit.
Well, actually, can you zoom in a bit more? That's, yeah, that's good.
All right. Everyone good? Okay. So I guess let's start then. Okay. So, the shortcut for Zoom. So just press Control-Shift-P, and then you're gonna get this, and search Zoom in, and then press Enter, and then you should do that like a couple times in order to zoom in. All right. So I'm gonna start now, and any more questions will be in a couple of minutes when I stop again to look at the chat. Okay. So let's start. So first, I'm gonna go over some basic variables. So we call these primitive data types. So first of all, we're gonna go through ints and floats. So let me preface this by saying, so And remember in the few slides before, we said that Python, you don't need to declare the variable type. So in C, if you guys did see in CPS 1 to 5, what you would do is you'd say like int num equals to like some number, right? And then you have to do like a semicolon. But in Python, you don't actually need to do any of that. What you do is you just say the name of the variable right away. So we can say num. We say equals to, like say 5. And then that's like one, that's the variable already declared. You don't even need to say that it's an integer. It's just num equals to this. And the language automatically figures out that it's an integer. So if I go hover over it here, it says num int, because it read this and it knows, okay, 5 without any decimal places, that's actually an integer. So num equals 5, the variable num is an integer. You don't need to say that it's an integer. And in Python, you don't need semicolons actually. So no semicolons at all. You just enter right away. In C, you actually have to put semicolons to end your lines, but in Python, you don't need to. All right, so say I have an integer num equals to 1, okay? And then I'm going to create another one, num2 is equal to 2.5. So now this is actually an integer because it doesn't have any decimal places, but it already figured this out. This is actually a float, which is like a decimal place. It's a number, it's a decimal number. And if I hover over it, it says num2 float. So it figured out that this is actually a float number. And you can also, if some people use other languages, it may also be called a double. It's kind of the same thing, floats and doubles. And so floats are numbers that are decimal numbers. So you have like a decimal place, and integers are just numbers that are not decimals. Okay. So then there's another way of saying numbers here, which is like if we say num3 equals to this. Okay, so this E here actually stands for times 10 to the power of. So if you read it all, it's like 1 times 10 to the power of 9. It's not the E which is like the E, the number, which is like 2 point something that you use for the exponentials. It's actually if you look at your calculator, 1 second, I'll show you here on the screen, on the camera. There's like a EXP button on your calculator if you've ever used it before. And that's like times 10 to the. So here's like 1 times 10 to the power of 9. So if you have very big numbers, you don't like say like this. You don't list all the zeros. You can just say E9, and that's just going to do times 10 to the power of 9. And then, so what if you're like, if in another programming language, you could say this is an int, this is a float, this is another float, okay? If you and then if you wanted to know what type this variable is, you can just look at what you declared it as, right? But in Python, what if you made the variable equal to something, but you want to know what type it is? There's actually a command in that in Python, which I'll show you in a second. But let me show you first something here. So you can do print. Okay, let's say this. In C, what you do is print F, and then you'd make like a string, and then you have to say like this %d, and then you have to say num. What this does, it says it makes like it prints, and in this here, the %d specifies that it's an integer, which is like for which we're printing, like num, and then you'd print num. But actually in Python, it's much simpler than that. You don't need to do any strings or anything or you don't need to specify that's an integer. All you do is you don't even do printf. It's just print and then num. That's it. And if you installed the Python extension correctly on VS Code, you should see, first of all, you should see at the bottom here, like your Python version at the bottom left, if you see on my screen. And then on the top right, you should see this like play button, this green play button. If you installed Python correctly, you can click on this green play button to run the code. And it's going to open a terminal in the bottom here, and it'll run the code. So it ran the code here. This is the thing that runs the code, and here's the output. And I'm actually going to zoom in on my terminal a bit so you guys can see. So here I printed num, which is 1, and I printed over here in my terminal 1. Okay, so we can also do print num2, print num3, and see, like, I didn't specify what the type of the variable is. I just printed it right away. And look here, 1, 2.5, and 1 times 10 to the power of 9. And actually, the times 10 to the power of 9 actually is already a float. So when you do 1e9, that's actually considered a float because it puts a 0.0 at the end. I'm going to quickly just check the chat. Okay, yeah, I'm going to go over that in a second for the string and variables. But yeah, okay. So let's go to the next. What do you mean by print but messy? If you write that, I can explain a bit. How frequently should you save? I mean, you can save after every single thing. Like every time you run this code, actually it saves on its own. I think maybe. Give me a sec. Yeah, it does. So see, okay, when on VS Code, when you type something, you'll see this like a white circle on the tab with your Python file, and this white circle means there's unsaved work. So just Control S and it saves it, and now you don't see that white circle. So everything is saved. Okay, so let's go to the type. Okay, so like I said before, what if I wanted to know, I don't know what this 1e9 is, and I wanted to know that it's type, right? So I can say print, and I say type, and then open the brackets, and then I put in what I want to see. So I said print type, and then open brackets num3. Now if I run the code, it'll run and it'll give me here this thing called class float. So basically it says this num3 is of type float, which we said float is like a decimal number. And when we printed it, you can see here that it's like 1 times 10 to the power of 9.0. That's why it's a float. It's a decimal number. So this is kind of how you want to, if you want to check what type variable is, you can check it that way. So let's go to the okay, let's go to here. So first, so another data type, a primitive data type, is called Booleans. So you may know Booleans as like true or false. So or a 1 or a 0. In C, a Boolean is like a 1 or a 0. So if it's true, it's 1. If it's 0, it's false. And in Python, it's not a 1 or a 0. It's actually the word true or false. So I can have a variable. Say I'm like I want to know if like a code is running, okay? And I say is running equals to false. All right. So now I have a variable called is running, and I made it false. And then if I actually print this is running, okay? So I printed this and I run it. It's gonna say false here. So I have a variable called is running and it's false, meaning and it'll output for me false. But if I say here, like if I change it, I say is running equals to true now, and then I reprint. Just copy this and run it again. See, now it outputs true. So you first had is running equals to false. You printed it, it's false, and then you change it. I change it to true, and I print it again, and it's true. All right. So, so that's like the basic booleans, and then there's other things for that are also booleans that I'm gonna show right now. So if I print, I'm actually gonna comment this so it doesn't make it messy. Oh, sorry. Actually, guys, a shortcut to comment multiple lines on VS Code, if you don't want if you don't want everything to print at once, is just select it all and then press Control and the slash on your keyboard, and it does it and it just comments everything. So I'm gonna show you guys another type of Boolean, which is this. So if I say like an expression, so 5 greater than 2, okay? What do you think this will print? So an expression is like an equation, and if it's and the output is what it prints. So it will print 5 greater than 2. It will first say, is 5 greater than 2? It is, right? So then the output will be true, and I can print that right now. See here, the output for this print statement is true. So this is an expression that outputs a Boolean, a true or a false. Press Control and slash. So I can just type in the chat for you. Plus slash. This is how you comment multiple files, multiple lines. Sorry. So here I printed 5 greater than 2. And it outputted true. Now I can also do, there's other stuff like equals equals. So I could say 5 equals to 5. That's true. If I do 5 equals to 1, that's not true. Equals equals means is it equal to? So it checks, is 5 equal to 1? If it is, it's true. If it's not, it's false. Here it's actually false. And then there's other ones like less than or equal to, or greater or equal to, or this, which is this exclamation mark equal is actually not equal. And if you print all this stuff, so you can say 5 equals to 2, print 5 not equal to 7 or 8, and then you could say 10, sorry, print 10 greater or equal to 3. So what would this be? This would be true, and this would be false, and this will be true, and this will be true. So if you run it here, just go up with. So see, it says true for the first one, false for the second one, true, and then true. So that's another type of Booleans. Okay, so if you now understand Booleans, we can go to, so what does not, okay, exclamation mark equals means not equal to. So I'm going to write here, not equal to. So it's basically the opposite of equal equal. This means equals to. If it makes it easier, guys, I'm going to comment the lines next to it so that you can see when I say it, so that if you missed something, you can read the comment. This is greater than. Greater than or equal to. And then we have also less than or equal to, just change this to a less sign. And yeah. So now let's go to strings. Actually, let me. Oh, yeah. A hash sign in Python is for a comment, by the way, in case you were wondering. We showed it here. But yeah, like if you want to comment, which comments are like lines in the code that's not being read by the language. It's just like kind of for explaining things in your code. Just do a hash sign and then start writing. Okay, so every time I run the code, it shows the path of the file. Is there a way to hide it? There is, but it's more complicated. You're gonna have to like write because that's what VS Code does. When you do that, it prints first the path to the code and then it runs it. What you could do is you could do like Python. 1 second. So yeah, you could do like Python. So you see here, like it says I'm in like my documents and then workshop. I could say Python, and then if I press tab, it'll show me, it'll like fill in the blanks and I'll say workshop.py, and I can run that, and now it runs workshop.py, and it's not that big path. If you just type python workshop.py, as long as you're in the same folder, that's another way you could do it. But yeah, the easiest way, in my opinion, is just this. It'll print the path, but just scroll down a bit so you don't see it. Okay, so let's go to the next. If it says invalid syntax, you must have entered something incorrectly. So you can check after to see. All right, so let's go to strings. Okay, so strings. I'm gonna create some variables first. Okay, so name is Mustafa. And also say age equals to 20, and then country equals to Canada. Okay, put this as a capital. So this is what you call a string. A string is like a text. It's like a name, for example, would be a string. Any text would be a string, except like one letter. So if I have a character equals to, this is actually called a character. It's not a string. A character is just like one letter. A string is anything that's more than a letter. So any word or a sentence or anything, that's what you put in a string. But a character is just one letter. And actually in Python, I can say, I don't have to say double quotations for my strings. I can say also single. So stuff here. Now these are both strings. The str, see? Both are strings. So it doesn't really matter if you put double quotations or single quotations. It's in the end, it's the same thing. Okay, so let's go to the. So let's print this, okay? So what I want to do is I want to say, hello, my name is Mustafa. I am 20 years old, and I live in Canada. Okay. So I want to print that to here. What I'll do is first, let me just comment this all out so you can see better when I print. Okay. So I'm gonna start writing. I'll say print, right? So I'm gonna say, hi, my name is, and then I'm gonna make a space, okay? And then here I would want to write this variable name which has Mustafa in it. So how would I do that? What I would do is you'd go after the quotation mark. So this quotation mark, the end one. And what you do is you do a plus. What this plus does is this. It says, oh, I want to add a variable to this print statement or this string. And that variable is already declared here, right? And I want to just add it to the string. But we put a space here because it doesn't automatically like put a space after is. So if I don't put a space here, my name will be stuck to the S for the is. So I can here say name, and then I do another plus, and then I start another quotation, right? So what it does here is like, hi, my name is Mustafa, and then plus another quotation, and I'll say, comma, I am. And then here I want to say my age, okay? So here I said, hi, my name is Mustafa, which I put in here. And then I am, and I'll put another plus. And now see, age is not a string, right? Age is an integer. I can't just put age here. It'll give me an error because it's not a string, right? Because print statements, or if you want to like add to a string, you have to add another string. You can't add an integer to a string. So what I would do is there's something called casting. So what casting does is say I have an integer right now. I want to convert my integer into a string. So basically I want age to be like this. instead of a number like this, it'll be like a string saying 20. I don't do it like this way. What I would do is in here, I do str for string. That's like the short way of saying string in Python. Okay, and then open the bracket and you type age inside. So here's string of age. So what it does is it just changes age from an integer to a string, and then you add it to this string. And then you say, okay, so hi, my name is Mustafa. I am and 20, and then I can say space years old. Okay, we can try that right now. See, hi, my name is Mustafa. I am 20 years old. And I can also say like, I can complete this, but it's a you just say like plus. I'm from Canada, for example. So the same way you did it here. So it said, hi, my name is Mustafa, and I'm 20 years old. Let's go to the next thing. So some rules for variables. Okay, yes, you know how I did some variables here, right? All these variables. Some rules in Python for variables is that you should start all your variables with a letter. So you can't start the variable like to num or something. See how it gives me like a red here on VS Code? It's because this is not actually a variable. This is illegal. Like in Python, it would be like an illegal statement. You can't say a number before for your variable name. You have to start with a letter. So here I start everything with a letter, and then you can also start with like an underscore. Some people do that. So underscore name like this, or underscore 2 or something like that. This is another thing you can put for like a variable. And then you can also, oh yeah, so variables are actually case sensitive. So name is not the same as name. These are two different variables. So if I say name equals to 3, name equals to 5, and I print these, okay? Name. Let me call this like name 1, name 1. Print name, and print name. Okay, see here, I printed name and printed name 1. One's capitalized, one is not. Where is it? Okay. Oh, I should print name 1 actually. See here? So I printed name 1 here and name 1 is capitalized, and it gave me 3 and 5. It's because these two are different variables, so it's actually case sensitive. So if you make sure that if you have variables with the same name, if it's two different, like if there's a capital letter, it won't recognize it as the same variable. So let me just comment that out. Okay, another thing is these are some string things, string commands in Python. So you can use, so see here how my name has a capital letter here for Mustafa. I could also do this. So I could, if I want to make it lowercase, I could say name dot, and then when in VS Code, if you have the Python extension installed, it'll give you all the commands you can use, or sorry, all the things you can do to a string if you do like the dot here after your string name. So here's name dot, and here I can like scroll down. I can see everything I can do, and you might have to search up what each one does, but I'll show you some. So lower, actually lower. So what lower does is that it makes a string all lowercase. So if I print it right now, see here how my name just changed from uppercase to a lowercase, all of it. And then I can also do upper. Is it upper or uppercase? Might be. Actually, it's probably upper. Yeah, it's upper. So print name dot upper. It actually changes everything in my name in this string to an uppercase here. Someone asked, when would you use string formatting then? Example. You can use that too. That works, Bahul. And yeah, so like you could use that if you wanted. This is another way of doing it also. Isn't it easier to use printf? Hi, my name is name, I am, age. Yeah, it is. It is. Then you don't need to do casting. But I wanted to show casting here, so that's why I used this this way of doing it. I wanted to show like that you can cast integers to strings, and that's why I did it. Okay, so let's go to the next. And then another thing you can do is replace. So like print name dot replace. Okay, so see here how it tells you kind of like what to put in this replace command. So inside here, what we do is this. What if I wanted to change the OU in my name? So some people spell Mustafa differently. Some people just put an O. What if some person said my name is not OU, it has only an O in it. So I wanted to replace that OU for an O, right? What I would do is you do name.replace, and then you say OU, which is the old, like what was old, what do you want to replace? And then what do you want to replace it with? So I just want to replace it with just an O. Okay. And now if I print that now, see how Mustafa now is just with an O? So I replaced the OU in my name with just an O. And this actually, when you do this, it doesn't change this name variable. So if I print name here right after, print name, see how it's still MOUSTAFA? It's not MOSTAFA. It's because this is actually just temporary where you're printing. If you want to permanently change the name to this way of doing it, what I would do is you say name, and then you call it equal, and then you copy this here. So see how I said name is equal to name dot replace OU with an O. So I basically said, so take the name variable I have up top, change it, and what do you change it to? You change it to this, but replace OU with an O. So now if I print, let me take that, print it after. Here, if I print it, now it's actually changed to MOSTAFA. And let me just comment this out. See here, my name is permanently changed to OSTAFA. All right, so that's a couple string functions. And there's also one more thing you can do is dot find. So what if you want to know, like if I wrote here Mustafa Eid, okay? And say like I'm trying to look through the string to find the EID in my name, okay? I want to know where it starts. Because say like here I just wanted to print my last name, but I only have this variable that says name. How do I specify that I want to print my last name? Okay, what you could do is you could say name.find, and then you put in it here EID. Okay, so now what this will print is 8. What is 8? So it'll go through the string. Okay, it'll count from the first letter, which starts with 0. So it'll count 0, 1, 2, for the U, 3 for the S, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8 is where my name starts, or Eid starts. Sorry, the last name starts. So it prints the where, like the number at the index where that string you put starts. And I can show you. So yeah, if I do print name and then put square brackets here. Okay, see these square brackets? If I want to just specify it to print Eid only, I could say this. Okay, name Eid, and then put a, let me see, let me just try something. Yeah, you have to put this. Okay. So if I wanted to print Eid, what I do is I print name and I put this square bracket, okay? The square bracket here. And what this does is like it says, I'm telling you that I only want a specific part, a range in this string. So this string is actually numbered. So like 0, 1, 2 for each letter it's numbered. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. And I'm telling it I want to print a specific part of the string, so a range in the string. What I do is you do then the where to start, like the index to start, which is this one here. This is where I want to start to print, and then here after this colon you put a colon, and after this colon you say where you want to end. But because I want to end at the end of the string, I want to print everything after this e. Okay, if I want to print everything after this e, you don't need to put anything after the colon. You just leave it empty, and I just print here, and see it says EID because it goes from E till the end of the string. But I could also say, so we know that E starts at 8, right? What if I put 10? What it does is it prints EI. So this notation which you put in the square brackets, it's start. So you put the square brackets, the start range, which is included, so 8, and then colon, and then the end range, and the end range is actually not included. So in your string, it'll only because I said 10, it'll only print 8 and 9, like the characters, the letters in number 8 and number 9, which is EI, right? So EI 8, 9. So 10 is not included in this range. So it's less than or equal to this last range. If I wanted to print the D, I'd have to say 11. So EID. Okay, so let's just put it here like this. Okay, so EI. All right, so let's go through some other things with strings. We can do like print. If I have a string in here, hello, there's some things you can do in like a string, which is like \n. What does \n do? \n creates a new line. So if I wanted to say hello, and then in a new line I say hi, for example, okay? So I do hello, \n, hi. And what it does is just puts a new line, and then it continues on with the print statement. So if I run this, it'd be hello, and then hi. And then when you do, there's another one where it's like, if I copy this 1 second. Okay, comment this out, and I can do \t. What \t does is like a tab. So you know when you're in a document and you press tab, it like pushes it in to the right, and I can even do it here. Tab, see how it pushes it into the right? It does the same thing. I want a tab between hello and hi, so I want like a big space between them. See now? Hello, tab, and then hi. So this does a tab, and then let me see if there's another one I can show. No, this is pretty much it for this part, for like these statements, these expressions.